Okay, I think I got it. Good morning, y'all. We are going to get this started. I hope you've had a good weekend. Yesterday was fun. We had a bit of a back and forth in the guild. And you've been with the group you have for as long as we have. And we know that the place that our meetups every Sunday is about to change. It can bring like tension and everything else. And it's not going to be overnight. I think that the game is trying to phase us into servers that don't lag because they're doing like a Halloween event for the next few weeks. And everybody jumps on because they want to get the custom outfits and gear that you can use in dungeons and stuff. So it does cause a lot of lag spikes for those of us just running our regular dungeon stuff and shooting the shit. But yesterday just showed that, you know, a lot of us have been in the guild for like 15 years now. The game is about 20 years old. And Dungeons and Dragons itself is over 40 years old. But it's always good to know that we all pretty much said the same thing. No matter what server they end up trying to move all of us to, or we all might have to migrate to, we're all going to stay together because, you know, our kids grew up. Like, I remember when my one friend's kids was just starting kindergarten just like my son. And now their boys are off to college and working. My kid's doing his courses and stuff to get his credits for state. We've lost guild members to both life and other things. Our main guild leader, while we had the loss of his son last year, him and his wife had found out not that soon after that they were pregnant again, so they have a new little girl that they're loving on. When you're a part of stuff like that and you see how life just continues on for us, it's magical. But yesterday was a lot of tension because, like, 3 of our members who are a part of the Sunday group, they were in the path of that storm. And they thought that they were so far in Georgia that it wouldn't affect them the way it did, but one of the groups kept getting intermittent outages. And then our acting guild leader was already nursing a cold. He's up there, and him and his wife moved to Canada about 1.5 years ago themselves. So he was already, you know, feeling out of sorts from that. And then with the constant having to pause our progress because you don't want to finish a dungeon without everybody in there or they don't get the loot or the XP. It was rough. So we finally get the friends that are in Georgia back. And then one of our friends decided this would be a good time to get shit-faced. Now, I don't blame them. They've been through it down there. And, you know, he really needed to just let loose. So we're having fun. Well, I think we were in the 3rd dungeon by the time he really started to get to the point where not only was he getting lost, but it was one of those, where are we? Where are we going? And then you would try to lead him and he would run off his own way. He found a lot of optionals though. I'll say that. That was funny. There were optionals in some of these dungeons that we didn't even know were possible. But he also red alerted a couple of times, which means that everything within the dungeon knows where you are, which isn't good for covert types. And there's a good chance that it'll spawn a bunch of champions that can pretty much take out anybody who doesn't have the right defenses, protections, and all that stuff. I know I'm talking nerd shit, but it was an ordeal. And I don't know what happened, but our acting guild leader decided that I did have fun. My friend just texted me. I am telling you, he who is normally mild-mannered, just wants to talk geek stuff, snapped. And I think it's fair. He was nursing a cold, you know. I think that people just hit tensions all the time. And he let it out, and then we got to playing again. In fact, because there's a buddy bonus that the game's doing until Wednesday, I agreed tonight to get on with them, do a little bit more, because of the outages and everything else, we didn't get all the dungeons we had planned to hit. So I'm looking forward to that. And then Tuesday night, we're going to do the Halloween event, because for us, it's a once and done. We've been playing the game for 20 years. I have most of the cosmetics that DDO gives out. I don't really have any use for any of the weapons that they give out, because my game plan for my main character is to go back to a warlock. So it doesn't really offer anything for me that way. And if they were offering different cosmetics, I might be more into it. What I normally do is farm the Halloween event for XP, and then I will move anything onto an alternate character to hold on to, just in case, because we have like most online games, whether they're Dungeons and Dragons based, MMOs have those marketplaces that you can put collectibles up for people who might have come after. I have made a lot of gold and platinum and all that other crap over the years just doing stuff like that. So that's our plans for the next 2 days. I'm trying to think of what comes after that, because I know, Winterfest. Winterfest is going to be a whole different ball game. I'm going to try to find the time for that, because my warlock is ice-based. So for me, making a character that is where I cannot feel like I'm squishy in dungeons, that's fun for me. Right now I'm playing a fighter. It's a human purple dragon knight fighter. And she's got a huge great sword that consumes the souls of anything it hits. In a pen and paper game, I would love to have something like that in my hands, because it goes off every other hit. And you can hear you siphon the souls or consume the soul of your target. So, like I said, yesterday was fun. Tonight's going to be fun. I can only do about 2-3 hours, and I told them that. And then another about 2-3 hours tomorrow, because you got to manage your time properly. Like I said, when we first started playing in our guild, it was nothing for us to stay up super late. We once did a 24-hour raid night. When we started with the first game, raid dungeon in the game, all the way up to the new one, including getting newer members flagged. One of the funniest things, we were in this one ice cavern, and one of our old members fell asleep, and we could tell he likes to rattle off while we're in dungeons, but he started getting super quiet. And every other word was, I'm gonna eat some Skittles for energy. And then all of a sudden, his wife gets on the voice chat and goes, he fell asleep, I'm making him go to bed. And we all just had a laugh at that, because for real, it was the reality of trying to do that back then. You know? And a lot of us have said, we can't do shit like that no more. We're all in our 40s or older now, you know. We probably shouldn't have really done that a lot back then either, but we were younger, and it was fun. But they keep trying to get me to do weekend raids, and while I might try them again eventually, raids are always stressful for me. I always played my Cleric in raids, because pretty much all I had to do, besides kill trash mobs with like offensive light spells and stuff, was keep people up. Sometimes I was tank focused, the person that had to keep the big boss on them. Sometimes I had to worry about DPS. And my rule when I was clericing is, I will raise you when I get to you, but if you're running point and you know you're not supposed to, you know you cannot take the damage of running point, you're going to stay a soulstone for a bit, because clerics don't have unlimited resources. You can buy potions that try to keep your mana up, But at the end of the day, you don't want to be that cleric wasting all your money on a night of raiding like that. Because the game, even though they're trying to get better at it, tells people that play those classes that we don't really think about you rate-wise. They don't give us offensive stuff. They don't give us real mana boosting stuff. And the cleric class kind of got phased out by other more quicker, more offensive healing and damage types anyway. I still like clerics because I played a cleric in pen and paper that was a lot of fun. She was mace-based. She was a cleric of death and destruction. And while she could heal people, she was better at inflicting damage. So, like I said, I love D&D. I didn't get started like some of my friends in the advanced edition, early stuff, or 1 or 2, first or second edition either. I started 3.5. We had books like Manual of the Planes and the Player's Handbook, and even this one demon handbook that I had because I was going to try to run a campaign myself where adventurers get tricked into going into the 7 layers of the abyss and pretty much looking for a rod. They had to get the different pieces of the rod to put together to not only stop the world from ending, but to also, you know, see that. Because not a lot of mortals get to see that. And I was going to build it where they have to deal with the inner politics between the, I believe it's 9 layers in the Demon's Handbook of the Abyss. And each of the lords of each of the layers all have their personalities, all have their dangers and intrigue. And I had a whole campaign plotted out back in the day, and then motherhood called. So we moved away from Florida. And the whole idea of trying to do it online back then didn't really seem like it was possible. Then I seen while I was on Amazon, Dungeons and Dragons Online. And me thinking, well, it's an online Dungeons and Dragons. Maybe groups get together like we did at the comic shop that we would get together each week and role play stuff out. I was wrong, but it didn't matter. When I seen it was an MMO at first, I put it up in my closet because the only MMO I had exposure to back then was WoW, and it wasn't pleasant for me. I wasn't ready for MMOs back then. And then, for some reason, that Christmas, I was putting some stuff up because it was going to be Crito's first Christmas, even though at that age he wasn't going to remember anything. Only a couple of months in. And the game bonked me on the head, which was hilarious. And so I was like, let me install this to see what this is about. And it was very intricate. And you had to have a credit card back then to run it because you had to do a subscription even if it was temporary. And I make my first character a wizard named Cleric because I had used the name a couple of times online by then because I liked it. It's a Hindu fighting style. And what made me smile was, even though the game gave you a tutorial, the moment you were thrust out into the main game, you had to figure shit out. My ass got almost completely destroyed by a ooze. I got lost in this one intricate, like, sewer type dungeon. And then I met a group of people who took me under their wing and was like, you seem really new and out of sorts. Ask us any questions you want and we'll help you out. And that was the first guild I was a part of. And they called themselves the Church of Jim Bob Jones. Yes, as a historic buff. And I know some people might get offended by it, but they were a bunch of history nerds too. And they told me, we're not making fun of what happened at Jonestown. We just like to spread awareness because I think some of the members had ties to people that were there. I don't know. I didn't ask questions. They were nice. So they were the kind that would guide you step by step how to do dungeons, what would work for your characters, and I ended up making 3 more characters after that because you have a bunch of slots you can put. So I had my mage, Kalari, my cleric, Kamari, and my ranger, Nixie. because those are some of my favorites. She was a ranger rogue because I noticed a lot of dungeons had traps, and I knew that with the offensive capability of using the bow and the stealth, I could have fun in dungeons either in the group or out of the group. And we would do wilderness areas because the game has a lot of facets. But it was nice having them take me under their wing. But eventually, you know, because I had more time back then, I would just wander about and get bored. So I started looking for a guild that played a bit more. When I found a guild called Beer. That was a lot. Because before Beer, I had put on a forum that I wanted to learn how to raid. Because the guild I was in, while they were good with teaching dungeon stuff, they weren't good with raiding. And then with Beer, they were a raiding guild, but I didn't know them at the time. My current guild, my forever guild, as I like to call them, Lost Legions, though, our guild leader, Krieg, answered the call. He was like, I like teaching people. We're going to get you flagged for every raid possible. And they did. And like I said, that was the first time I did almost all-nighter. The next time we did the 24 hours, that was the last time I did that. So they got me 2 times with those 24-hour bullshits. But he kept to his word. Not only did I get flagged for all the raids, I did my first Dragon Dungeon raid with them. But I was so tired. And everything was such a blur that I forgot that Lost Legions were the ones that did that. And so, because they were known as the drinking guild back then, I thought Beer was the people that did it. And what's fucked up is that the guild leader of Beer let me call him the name of the guild leader of Lost Legions for months. Didn't correct me. So I think he knew what happened, how I messed that up. And he just wanted my cleric and my wizard and other people in his guild. Now when I found out by mistake, because I was a noob, Lost Legions wasn't mad about that. They just said, whenever you're ready, if you don't feel you fit in with Beer, there's always an open spot for you. And I was like, okay, but I didn't feel right just leaving another guild because of my mistake. But eventually it got to the point where I wasn't fitting the standards that they needed for raids. I wasn't willing to build newer characters. There was a lot of infighting between the guy in charge, the second in command, and another sister guild that they loved to raid on. They would latch on to these bigger, really put together raiders where people will scream at you if you don't know what you're doing. And that really isn't fun for me. What I loved about Lost Legions was they didn't care if you died, especially if you're learning. They just wanted to have fun. So when we were raiding with Beer, it was a totally different vibe than when we were raiding with Lost Legions. People were getting cussed out in raids. People were going to the forums and saying, don't you run with this person, they're a loot stealer, they do this, they do that. And it was just a lot more drama than my new mom ass could deal with. So I was just like, you know what? I'm not into this. Lost Legions offered me anytime I wanted to jump over to just be with them, be calm, have fun. And like I said, I ended up being the most out-of-pocket member and probably still am of our guild. But I jumped over, I believe it was 2011, and I almost quit playing because a lot of shit went down that year too. But I jumped over. They were understanding that I didn't have a lot of time because I was between moving, and we had lost family members back then, but they waited. And when I got back in 2012 and could play fully, I had my forever guild. Now, I'm not saying that with guilds especially, stuff doesn't happen. We had members come, members go, members lose their fucking shit over the craziest thing. We've had couples that were together, divorce over gameplay stuff. That is the reality of online. But in the end, a lot of us same names are still there. A lot of us now have kids. Kiddo has a character in the guild. He only wants to play the underwater quest, so I don't push him to do it. A lot of other parents have formed a little sect for their kids to play because it is a more family-friendly game depending on the area. We have a new Myth Draenor expansion. Such a freaking pretty area. I'm going to have to record something just running around in it because it is a beautiful, beautiful done area. But in the end, because we all enjoy each other, because we all enjoy the game, we just have fun. But I remember one time, and I just got back, and it was around my birthday, so we did the raid called the Shroud. Back then, the Shroud was the end-all be-all, because not only did you fight this huge demon boss, and you had to do 5 different parts to even get to him, but it had the best loot in the game. It's called Green Steel. You can literally custom a weapon that have any attributes, as long as you have the correct resource combinations. So like if you want a sword that can literally turn a monster into a soul stone, or a sword that can do a magma surge, or summon a creature, that was the raid to do. And so we get back and we're on this one part where you have to coordinate destroying crystals. And it is not easy, especially when people are drinking, to do this right. All of us are on crystals. I knew by then that sometimes it takes us more than 1 or 2 or sometimes 4 attempts to get the crystals done properly, because you never know people's coordination after drinking. Well, we opened it up to non-guild members to pick up group. And we got this one guy who was already very loud, very rude. Anytime he heard a female voice over voice chat, he was one of those. And the guild leader, Cleric, was trying so hard to just be diplomatic. He knew it was just going to be for this raid. And most of us girls knew, because there was like 3 of us, just ignore him. But he was rubbing us the wrong way, because he tried to take over the raid and tell people how to do. And then he started cursing us out on the second try to destroy the crystals, which is something our guild just doesn't do. We don't devolve into cussing people out. Now, I don't know about the newer raids, because our acting guild leader can be a bit more passionate than everybody else. And I haven't been in the raid where he's done that. But apparently I heard stories that he's gone off a couple of times, which I hope I never see that, because that was never the vibe of our guild. But this guy, he just went all the way off. And instead of waiting for Cleric to try to be diplomatic about it, I screamed at him. This was supposed to be fun. I just got back. It was technically, by the time we got there, my actual birthday. And I was just we had such a good time until that point. And I don't remember how it got that bad, but I was like, I will cut you. And they still laugh about that line, because I was just so beat, I didn't care. And then I realized I was acting out of pocket. We aren't like that. We just wanted to enjoy the raid and have fun that night. And it wasn't supposed to get that heated. And after that, I just calmed down. I've been an officer for about 11 years now. My job basically is to make sure that if people need to know something about a dungeon or resources they need, because I have a shit ton of them, that's my role. I can also kick people, but I've never had to do that, and I'm glad. I just don't, and I'm not on enough to really monitor what's going on. But now that it's mostly family based, people's kids are in there, you know, they don't really need me for a lot of that stuff. When we all go on the hardcore server, which is a temporary server for gamers and players who enjoy the game, we still try to stick together. But I've joined different guilds, the people that I knew from other servers. One of the things that's fun for me is consistency. I am weird about new stuff. Always have been. Don't see that changing. But if something is consistent, I gravitate to it. And having this guild be a steady part of my life and my everything, to the point where I've literally used them as templates for characters in my stories. And I'm really hoping they like the second book, because I have featured their personalities near as I could with these characters. And I do feel like I nailed, especially the acting guild leader's personality. So I'm excited to see what he thinks. What I like about DDO is it's definitely not the same as tabletop. Getting the tabletop group right now, it doesn't seem possible. I know there are online things like that role site, but you have to feel a level of comfort. And I had a friend, Solomon, just send me a campaign that I'm reading through called Nocturne that he put together. And I'd have to say, Solomon, if you have a chance to watch this, I'm interested. But I have to know the other players. Because once I feel comfortable in a group, I can go right into character mode. But if I don't, I'm going to be more just sitting back watching instead of having the fun that I know you want us to have in your campaign. That's just the reality, you know? Because to feel that level, you have to see that other people are really into the campaign. And you have to be feeling the campaign, and I do. Like, you had me at Ravenloft, dude. You really did. I am looking forward to finishing it because it's a 43-page thing you sent, and it looks good. I wouldn't lie to you. You even had Greg pause and was like, ooh, what's this? The visuals you have laid out, the backstory you have laid out is really well done. So if you were sending that to see if I'd be interested, I'll go definitely, but I need to know all the details that it entails. And I got to figure out whether it's a weekend you want to do that, where I can squeeze that in, and where we're going to do it. Because I know some people do groups on Discord. I know some people do groups on that role site. I know some people use their Twitch now. I've watched my friends, Dirkdar and them do, every once in a while, 80s world-style campaign for Dungeons and Dragons. And it is fun watching them sit around trying to figure stuff out, including the Shrimp Wizard Chronicles. Like I said, I'm a nerd, y'all. I know it might not seem like it, but this is what makes me happy. Geeky, nerdy stuff. And I know if you sat through 30 minutes of me talking about D&D stuff, whether you did it because, oh, it's Kalari on her bike, what's she going to talk about? When I'm in my wheelhouse about stuff, when I really like the topic, I'll talk about anything. But D&D has been a part of my life for decades. Most games, like Legend of Zelda, that Echoes of Wisdom game has been so much fun too. Eventually I want to do a breakdown once I'm fully finished. Right now I'm in Noel's Body, and that place is hard. Like, I'm not even joking. It is, not to give spoilers, it's going to be rough if you don't stock up and know what you're doing. I am excited though, because now that the second novel's finished, I have a little bit of lull before I want to start another book. I got enough scripts for the webcomic where I don't have to worry about lagging behind. I can actually start to enjoy a little bit of hobbies again fully. I've got craft string. I want to start making keychains again. Just little things that I can do to just have fun until it's time to go back into creative mode. I think that I've been lucky with, especially the guild. These are people that if anything goes wrong, they have my number, I have theirs. If I go quiet, they are the first to send something like, hey, you okay? And when you have that kind of closeness, you gotta cherish it. I definitely cherish everybody in Lost Legion, whether they're old or new, because I'm getting to know new members now too, and it's just a nice place to be. And if you have that kind of niceness, just hold on to it. Doesn't matter what anybody says about it, doesn't matter what anybody thinks about it, hold on to the good in your life. But I will be back probably on Thursday, if not Friday, for another one of these. Right now, 2 times a week to record this and talk. That's fun for me. I still plan on doing Saturday lives, and then my uploads to my Twitch cast on Tuesdays and Fridays. But other than that, it's an early day, y'all. I hope that you are having a good start to your week. I hope that you continue to do fun things. And I will see you all soon.